Welcome to Billy Ho Sports. Thank you for tuning in. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and don't forget to like and comment on the videos. I hope you enjoy the show. Now, let's go. Hello, Billy Ho here, joined on the Tuesday DraftKings show by the DFS chef David. We're covering the Mayakoba Worldwide Technologies Mayakoba Classic, held at El Camaleon Golf Course in a resort, short knocker course, resort, big greens, slow putting, pretty much birdie fest, I would say. Got to be accurate off the tee and hit your wedges and make some putts, and you're going to be there. So I'll say what's up to Dave, and then we'll get it started. What's up, Dave?
Yes, sir, man. How's it going? I think we had a pretty good week last week. I think we were on some good ones there, and I was high on Lauer, and I know that you mentioned Power. Power is always a guy that shows up on short courses. He
Yep.
had some questionable recent form coming in, but boom, he took it
Well,
and won it.
that's right. It's what we were talking about in the Discord. He may have had trouble with his irons lately, but they were probably from 175 to 200 and not 100 to 125 because he was dialed in. I had it. I was real. Almost had. I won't call it the nuts, but I had a couple of really good low owned lineups. But I had weekend trunk slammers like Scott Brown, who shot 63, 68, and then came out Saturday and shot 81 to put me right out of it. And then my saving grace was keeping me in the money was Ben Griffin, and then he trunk slammed Sunday. So I ended up getting torched on that front, but I felt like the process was good, the picks were good. So we're going to get into this week's tournament and take a look at some stat models and see what we got going on. And like normal, we are going to take a look at the Mayakoba stat model by the DFS chef. And as always, you can DM him direct messaging on Twitter at the DFS chef. And he will set you up on this model for $1 a week, or if you want to pay $25 for the whole year, then you get a discount. And I believe what he said last time was that the stat model is going to be updated with the full Monty as soon as we get another week or two or more of stats to build on. It's kind of hard to do in the fall for yearly stats because there's just like a lot of these guys we're going to talk about today haven't even played, or they just played the President's Cup, or maybe just one of the CJ or Zozo or something like that. So we're going to do a 9K and up to start, and I'll kick it over to you, Dave. Who are you favoring in this section? Since I see a whole lot of green in your top tier here.
Yep. I mean, as we've seen so far in the swing season, uh, the top end is where the favorites, they're the ones that are winning most of these events, and you can see it based on the you know overall numbers. It's kind of top heavy with the overall rankings here, and after this week's event is when I'll start kicking into 2023 stats. This is event number 7, but like you mentioned, Zozo and CJ was small field. So I'm waiting for that to, for this week to finish. And then we actually will have 5 full field events, and I'll kick in this season stats for next week's model. But as we go from 9K up, like you mentioned, driving accuracy is going to be extremely important at this track. And as we start at the very bottom, 9K, and I'll work my way up, you see Brendan Todd, and you see Brendan Todd's track record here: 11th, 8th, 1st. And what's he do? He's one of the best on tour when it comes to driving accuracy. So I have probably a good amount. I haven't done any lineups yet, but I'll probably have a good amount of Brendan Todd this week, even though he's only grading out 23rd. This is a kind of a track that suits his game. Just like I mentioned last week on the show, there's only a certain number of courses that you're ever going to play Brian Gay. And what did Brian Gay do? I think he was T11 last week.
Yeah,
So
he got it done.
there's certain tracks that certain guys do it. And I think Brendan Todd, I think this is one of those courses. So I'll be probably heavily invested with Brendan Todd. Um, Jason Day has been actually really, really good lately. Especially he's gaining with his on approach. I think in like 6 or 7 straight now. But I kind of have a tough time paying $9,200 for Jason Day. So I don't know if I'm going to get there. Like we mentioned, Seamus Power on short courses. I think you could probably go right back to him. I think the kind of the stigma of guys winning and then fading them the following week has kind of gone out the window. I don't think that really is as a thing anymore. I think you can go right back to guys that win the following week. So I think you could go back to Seamus Power. I do like Maverick McNeely this week. Maverick McNeely we see with good course history here, and he's fired off 3 top 20s in a row with the CJ Cup, the Zozo, and the Shriners Granite. CJ Cup and Zozo was a small limited field, event. Tom Hoagie, another guy that's been, just firing on all cylinders. I do like Tom Hoagie, who's grading out 8th in my model. Obviously, Taylor Montgomery, we don't have the stats in there yet, but I'm sure if you put the stats in there, he would be really, really high up. I mean, I think Rick mentioned it between the Corn Ferry and the PGA. I think he's fired off like 8 in a row, top 20s.
Yeah.
So I do like Taylor Montgomery. Billy Horschel, I don't know if I can pay $10,000 for my man Billy Ho, or I should say your man Billy Ho.
Yeah. That's
He does,
tall
he
order,
does,
isn't it?
yeah, he does have really good history here. I just don't know if I can pay the 10 grand. It's also kind of the same thing with can you pay 10 grand for Aaron Wise? But believe it or not, Aaron Wise might be one of my favorite plays on the board this week. Everything sets up for him, that coastal kind of track record kind of thing. It kind of speaks for it. So he definitely fits. Surprisingly, Finau shows up on short tracks, for a guy that is such a big hitter. And
Mhm.
he's looking really good. But from what I'm seeing, he's also, at least from what I'm seeing where I get my stuff, he's also projected to be the highest owned guy at 10 over 10 to over 10 grand this week.
Now, see,
Um,
I find that. Let me just interrupt you real quick. I find that odd, and I know this is strange, but he's showing up as the lowest guy
okay. So
here. Would that's
yeah,
not necessarily, like I said, take that with a grain of salt because you only have 125 members with that have favorited players,
yeah,
and or no, 2,000 favorited players, but only 125 members have done anything so far this week. It's super
yeah,
early, so but I
yeah,
did notice that, and I said that's kind of hard to believe. And I think the only reason is he just hasn't played. I mean, he played the
exactly.
President's Cup, and that's it.
Yeah. And
Okay,
see,
sorry.
and see, I'm showing that Hovland is like the second highest projected ownership on where I'm getting it. But obviously, it's too early, so we're gonna have to gauge that probably tomorrow afternoon, even tomorrow night.
Yeah,
Because,
definitely.
because on my thing, I'm showing Scotty Scheffler as the lowest, which is probably very hard to believe. So I think what we can do is take where I'm getting and where you're getting and kind of average it out.
Right.
Um, Obviously, Hovland is a back-to-back winner. Can he go back to back to back? I don't know. Um, he's gaining in all strokes gain metrics except for around the green, which believe it or not is everyone always says that he's such a bad guy around the green, but he's over the last 36 rounds at least he's almost net neutral around the green. So I mean I'll take that. Um, Definitely ball striking. So I mean Scheffler's got good track record here. He's been a bit shaky recently, so I
Yeah.
don't know where I'm going to go. I can even understand guys fading the 11K guys and starting in the 10K and then working their way down. Or like we mentioned last week and again this week, you can probably go 3 9K guys and go more balanced. So it just depends on where you want to go with it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'll start right where you left off at. And it is weird. And I don't pay attention to that ownership stuff just yet. But I did kind of understand why you would think for two things. Scotty Scheffler being the lowest on top guy because A, he's the highest priced guy, and B, like you said, he's been kind of struggling with his game a little bit. I mean, he was letting frustrations be known on the course when I was watching him at CJ Cup. So he, missing putts and looking at his caddy and like they weren't on the same page. But I mean that's been weeks ago. I'm not going to read too much into that. I was saying I think I mentioned in the preview video this might be the get right course for Scotty. He doesn't have to be long off the tee. He can just dial it back, hit fairways, and knock wedges on and make putts. And I was watching actually before we started here. I was watching it's Run Pure, but it's Toe Tag and Tambo, uh, and he was talking about how what if this had flipped where Scotty won and Victor finished fourth? Would you feel differently? I don't know. But the course, if you just think about course fit, it's this guy. It's Colin Morikawa. I mean, fairways and greens, and but he's you talk about struggling. That guy. I mean, I know he'll burn me as soon as I completely full fade him. He'll figure everything out, but I'll have to think long and hard and see what the ownership is on him. But as far as like a course fit, he just seems like the guy. Of course, he hasn't seen the course, so we won't really know for sure. But I'm definitely with you on Finau. It's like these top four guys are in their own tier, in my opinion, as being the best overall in the field. And then you go down, and Aaron Wise at 10-2. I mean, this dude was, I don't know, six. It's probably been longer. I mean, he's been back on the right track for quite a while now. But there for a time, he was like 7,100 and sub 7K. He was playing so bad, and it was mainly the putter. So maybe he did go to the long broomstick putter. So that's probably helpful. And he's got some top tens and a second place finish. So I'll have to look at him. And I just like you said, you just sometimes you might have to just black out this price range and just play the guy, just highlight the guys that you like and then figure it out from there. And don't let price or ownership deter you from who you're going to play. Billy Ho has got some great, if you look at tournament history, he's right up top with strokes gained total. So it could be just, I don't know how many down past 2018 it goes, but he's got some really good strokes gained metrics here. So I'm going to be interested in him. And after that, you get down into the 9Ks. That talk about a tough pill to swallow price wise. Taylor Montgomery at 9,600, but he's been so good. So and I don't know if this is any indication, but one people are looking at that price going, no thanks, so far anyway. Hoagie's perfect setup for him, perfect fit. I made some notes on this kind of stuff. Monty, Taylor Montgomery riding the fire putter. But what I think could happen with him, and when I'm going to take a look at his stats just real quick, is he was losing like strokes gained on approach at Shrine. These are different irons. I think with this short course, he might be hitting a considerable amount of wedges. So that these two bad stats might be a little bit misleading. I know Shriners is a middling course. It's not exactly short, but it's not exactly long either. So it's kind of tough. But the CJ Cup that did have some long holes on it. So I'll have to dig into that a little bit more to see what I'm where I'm landing there. I'm starting to get talked into Seamus a little bit after I looked at his recent form and at past history because he's got some good finishes against bigger fields, and he hits obviously all the stats. And this is a short course model, sub 7,200 yards, so we know how much he likes that. And what I was doing was going down through here looking for good drives and and good approach game and wedges and whatnot. I'm probably with you on the day. I can't quite get there. Grillo is going to be massive chalk. I think he's going to be 25% owned in a lot of single entry tournaments because he's been playing so well. I don't know if the 4 strokes lost putting at CJ Cup will deter anybody, and they'll be like, "Oh, here we go again. Grillo's losing the putter." But I don't know. He's been doing so well, and he ranks out in short courses, obviously 14th. The approach game, he can dial in the wedges with the best of them. And I'm with you on Brendan Todd too. I think this is a perfect setup for him. Just whack it out there in the fairway, knock it on the green, and make some putts to get her done. And down into the 8K range, there's some guys we'll have to decide. I didn't really give a lot of love to Dietrich last week because I didn't like the price, but down at 8,800, I might give him a look. Brian Harmon's got crap course history here, and it's really not explainable to me because you'd think a little dude like him would love these short courses, fairways and greens, hit wedges, make putts. Maybe it's the lack of around the green game. I don't know, but I've heard Norin mentioned, and I'm going to have to see it first. Norin's been every time I play him, he screws me. Of course, we all know we talk about it every week. The models love Russell Henley, and so he's going to rank out really high in everybody's model. And he hits every fairway, and he's really good. It's going to be, like he's the number one. This is the 50 rounds on short courses. So he's way up here in all the good stats you're looking for. So, I mean, he has to be in the pool. And then I started making some notes, and we'll get to them once I get down into the other tier. But this is kind of starting what I called maybe the mid tier short hitters. And the first one is Adam Hadwin. Uh, Obviously, he can drive the ball down the middle of the fairway. He hits his wedge as well, and he can get hot with the putter. I prefer him on POA, but I don't mind him here. I think these greens are slow, and I think they're easy to putt on. I think if you can make the adjustment, maybe run some models with the Velcro checked off over here and see how that pans out. Uh, and down here, of course, Putnam and Cooch. Kuchar, actually back in form, and he's won here before. Obviously, where the big controversy where he only paid his caddy like $5,000 or something because he was a local guy or whatever. But around the green, scrambling, putting, hits his wedges. If he can putt, he's been disaster with the putter, but he's been striking it really well lately. So I'm going to have some interest in him. So Hadwin and Kuchar are 2 guys on my mid-tier short hitter list. And I'll let you jump in on you can give us your 8Ks and lead us into 7.
Yeah, definitely. For me with the 8K, this could be a range that you could full fade if you want to, because most guys are probably going to go stars and scrubs again. So you can full fade it and go with, what most people are probably going to do, or you can take, 1 or 2 guys in here, and this is where you're going to be contrarian. I do like Thomas Dietrich. Obviously, he's not grading out in my model, but that's because I don't have the stats on him yet. But this is something that Dietrich should be really good at. This is another course that I think suits his game really well. And then guy that's just been riding the hot train, now for 8+ events. Andrew Putnam. I mean, he's not great. His history here is not great, but at least he's played it, and
Yeah.
he's making progress when he's been here. So, and just the way his game is right now, I think Putnam's someone you can definitely ride. I do like Kuchar. Kuchar, obviously, like you mentioned, he's won here. This is right there. The Kuchar kind of fits that Brendan Todd mold once again, So when you look at it, I do like Kuchar at 8,000. I don't know how popular he's going to be, but you know he if you look at the second tab again, he sets up really well on my bets and player pool tab. Strokes gained
Yeah.
total at Mayakoba. He's up there. Obviously, we only have over the last like 5 years. I go back since 2018, but you see where he is. You know, Glover obviously only has 4 rounds. So when you look at it, take out Glover with 4 rounds, and then he's right there, one, two, three, fourth. You know, right behind Hovland, who's won here back to back times. So Kuchar's right there. But then strokes gained comp courses that I was looking at, he's second behind Hovland in comp courses. So it definitely sets up well for Kuchar. So I like Kuchar, and then going into the sevens, I'm going to go like upper tier sevens to start with. So it's like 75 to 79 guys that I'm looking
Okay.
at. Um, I'm going right back to my guy. Last week he was what, $9,900 because the field was so weak, and now I'm
Yeah.
getting a discount at $2,300 discount.
Sure does feel like
Um,
it, doesn't it?
yeah, I'm going right back to Justin Lauer again. He's making cuts. He's finishing top 20 on a good amount of them. Finished, I think T8 last week. He was one of my guys that I cored last week, and now I'm getting a discount on him. I'll sign up for Justin Lauer. Robbie Shelton, since coming back from the Corn Ferry on the swing season, I don't think he's missed a cut since he's come back playing the swing season. He's a great ball striker. He does find fairways, so I like Shelton. I might like Hayden Buckley even more than Shelton, though. We haven't seen Buckley in a few weeks, but the last time we saw him, he was, I think T5 at the Zozo. Granted, it was, a limited field, but
Mhm.
I think Buckley even sets up even better than Shelton at 7,500. Buckley over the last 36 rounds is, I think, gaining in almost every strokes gain metric. He is losing a little bit with the putter, but I can overlook that. Around the green, he's slightly negative, but the one thing he does do that I really like, he's actually gaining with his on distance, but at the same time that he gains on distance versus the field, he also still hits the fairways. So he's I don't want to compare him to John Rahm, but when we talk about distance and hitting fairways, you kind of can compare him to Rahm because Rahm's a guy that always is long off the tee, but still manages to find plenty of fairways. So that kind of sets well for Buckley, a guy that can get distance but still
Yeah.
find fairways. And then the last guy at 7,500 that I'm looking at is Lee Hodges, and I'll
Love
leave it
Lee
at that.
Hodges.
I'll leave it at that, and then I'll go 74 down into the sixes.
Okay. Yeah, that's Lee Hodges. I've been I played him at both Zozo and CJ Cup, and he really came through for me. I dug that. Uh, so I left off at Hadwin, and then we talked about Kuchar, and then I had a getting down into it. I played this guy last week, and he kind of bit me. He did make the cut barely, but Aaron Rye. Uh, I think just like the guys we've been talking about, fairways and wedges, and he I don't know quite what happened to him. He kind of fell off over the weekend, but like you said, you talk about price discount. He was 10-100 last week,
Yep.
so he's all the way down here underneath. He's same price actually, 7,600. I wanted to see real quick if I can get this player engine. Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting we don't have, but he fell off, so he lost a total of a stroke. He was kind of just barely average, I guess. Um, but I think I like him better on this slower putting surface. So I'm going to get down with some Aaron Rye. I think at least he's on the list. But the dude that you probably would have mentioned right at 7,400 that you love to play, and I love him too, is Adam Long. Uh, he rates out really well. The long distance short course model he doesn't, but his recent form has been really really good, and he's not a big hitter, and he's got two top fives and a 22nd last year. He's making some cuts, so he's hanging in there pretty good. So I'm going to have some Adam Long. a guy we haven't talked about in a minute, that was in some good form. He's still making cuts and doing okay. Wasn't real great at those no cut events, but JJ Spawn is another guy that just hits fairways all day long and can hit irons and wedges with the best of them. He just needs to, bring his putter with him. And he's got some waffling course history here. He was really good in 2018 and 2019, and then he just kind of fell off with everybody misses cuts though. I mean, I think is that just barely is that missed by a stroke or is that barely made the
No,
cut?
no. See, 2021 he made the cut. He was
Okay,
65th, and
yeah.
then 2020 he made the cut too. But 2020 is uh, what was
Oh, is that an
he was
MDF?
uh, I want to say it might have been a MDF
Yeah,
where they
yeah.
might have
He
cut
didn't
down
make
where
it
they might have cut
Saturday.
down the field. Where he might have missed Sunday. They might have made another cut after Saturday.
Right,
But,
right. I
but
bet you that's probably what it was because I
yeah,
think they didn't change that till after the. It's hard to say though. I can't really remember, but anyway, you get where I'm going. But another dude that actually caught my eye, and I hope he's not too popular. Grayson Sig. I played a little bit of him last week, and he's a short knocker. I really didn't. Some of these Euro guys you don't really look up a whole lot, but he averages like 295 off the tee, which is way down there, but he hits fairways. So this is he's kind of like the European Brendan Todd, uh, from what it looks like, and he plays. He made the cut in his only appearance last year, so I look for him to improve on that. He was 11th at Bermuda last week, and we haven't mentioned weather yet, but there is maybe chances for some rain and storms in the forecast. I haven't looked at it today, but when I looked at it last week when I was doing the preview video, it was showing up, Thursday, Friday, Saturday possibility of some more weather. So we could get some T splits and whatnot. But anybody that played last week and played well, I'll be interested in. So he's going to be on that list. And getting down here to the bottom, I want to pull the trigger on Chris Kirk because he was kind of my guy, but he just doesn't. I always say this: he has no upside, and he blah blah blah. He'll go out in top 10 now. I already know what'll happen, but you can see his middling results. 7,200. All you really need to do is make the cut, but some scoring would be nice in a birdie fest. Making the cuts good at some other events, but this one here, you may need to do a little bit better. You may need to score. So I'm gonna keep a lookout on that. Uh, of course, guys like Streelman and Knox, and I'm definitely going back. I haven't played him in a while, but my man Svensson is he's another kind of shorter hitter, but hits a lot of fairways. Really good with the irons. I think this is a great setup for him. So he's on the list of my mid tier guys. So I got about 5 or 6 guys from we'll say 7,100 to 8,200. That is kind of like I don't know if I'll core that range, but I'm definitely going to be mixing and matching that half a dozen guys. So you go ahead and take us through your bottom 7K guys and into your sub 7Ks, and then I'll kind of clean it up from there.
definitely. I'll just back you because almost every name you mentioned are guys that I'm
I
also
know I
on.
hate doing that because I know we think on the same page a lot of times. So I feel
Exactly.
like I'm
So
mentioning too many guys, but
yeah, all those guys you just mentioned, I'm also on. So people can take that for what it's worth. Uh, can I just say last week's show that I told people that I was going to fade Hubbard, especially when Hubbard is chalk and Hubbard is that expensive. And when it came down to it and I was making lineups, I had so much Justin Lauer. I'm like, all right, I got too much. Let me pivot a little bit. And I wound up putting and checking some Hubbard in there.
I tell you what, if I had a nickel for every time I did that, I did that last week. Actually, I did the same thing. It was a different price range,
Yep.
but yeah,
I
I
had
said, God, I got too much of this guy.
Yep, and I should have just. That's why we always say when Anzo and I used to do second guess your DFS, we always say trust your gut. And I should have just said the hell with it. I said from the show that I would fade Hubbard, especially when he's 10K in chalk, and I ate it. But a couple guys that you didn't mention that I like, and you mentioned Kirk right above him, same price. He's grading out better on my model, better course history here, better recent form. Joel Damon, but I'm also seeing that Joel Damon might be pretty heavily owned. So
Hmm.
in GPPs, maybe you take Chris Kirk at like half the ownership. I don't know, or you eat the Damon chalk. Um, a guy that yeah, I think it's Stewie that always puts it on Twitter.
Oh
Guys that
yeah,
I'm
Stewie.
guys that I'm going to play that you shouldn't. For
Yeah,
me, that might be Justin Rose this week. Um, he's definitely still not back to the Justin Rose we're used to, and maybe we're never going to see the Justin
yeah.
Rose that we're used to. But something at 7,300 wants me to gravitate to him, and I'm not going to play a lot of them. It might only be like maybe one or two shares, but 7,300 for a guy with that track record. When we look at Jason, I mean, granted, Jason Day is playing way better than Justin Rose, but I mean, Justin Rose used to be the number one player in the world, and
Oh,
7,300, something in me still wants to take a couple stabs at him. So that might be someone I might look at. Um, Danny Willett at 7K flat. I think this is one of those courses that sets up really well for Danny Willett. You can see that he, was T27 here last year. I didn't play him at all at the CJ Cup. There were definitely guys that mentioned him for the CJ Cup, and I think this suits well for him. Nick Taylor at 7K flat, I think, is someone we
yeah.
can look at.
That's
I rode Smotherman last week, and I'll probably ride him again at 7K flat. He's one of those really good ball strikers, and
mhm.
that goes down into the sub 7Ks. Ryan Palmer at 69 seems like he's too cheap, but I just don't know where his game is right now, and I
Yeah.
don't know if I can take the chance on him. I almost would rather take a chance on Brandon Wu. At least we're seeing him in the fall swing. We've seen Palmer a couple times in the fall swing, and he's still questionable. Where at least Brandon Wu now has made 4 straight cuts, so I probably feel safer going to Wu over Palmer. The kid Kevin Yu, he looks good. He's showing that he's starting to gain some form out here on the PGA. I don't know. I think Kevin Yu, if I'm not mistaken, is more of a bomber. So I don't know if this is a course that would fit Kevin Yu's game, especially when we're talking how important finding fairways is this week. And actually, when I'm looking at it, he actually is over the last 36 rounds. He is finding fairways versus some of the other guys in the field, but he definitely is more of a bomber than he is a short knocker. But he's someone I might take a chance on. And then, like you mentioned, Ben Griffin. I had a good amount of Ben Griffin last week, and now we're getting a discount once again on Ben Griffin. So I feel confident going to Ben Griffin. Uh, CT Pan, this is a course that should fit CT Pan's game. CT Pan's one of those guys that is not long but finds fairways. Um, Here's a second name where I don't know how popular he is, but this is a second name of guys that I might play this week that some guys don't even know who he is because he's mainly Euro. But Adri Arnaud, he's a Spaniard.
Yeah.
Um, I do think that he is someone that's going to be low owned. At least I think he's going to be low owned, and he's going to be someone that I play um, on that second tab again for course fit over the last 36 rounds. Granted, when I did this, I think this is only for like 14 rounds, but there he is popping right there. One, two, three, fourth for
Yeah.
course fit, the style of his game versus the course fit. This is a course that should suit his game, and most likely people are going to go to a name that they're used to, and that would be Lucas Glover. Granted, he was I think T5 back here in 2021, but if I can get Adri Arnaud at half or even a third the ownership of Lucas Glover, then I'll probably take it. Um, and then going down, God, it scares me. And I played him in a couple lineups last week. But this is a track that should suit Scott Piercy's game. Once again,
Oh,
probably something that I'll throw a dart or two at on Piercy And I even might throw a dart or two at Danny Lee because look at Danny Lee's track record here.
Yeah, I
Um,
did. I did look at Danny Lee, and he has actually has a great. I mean, he's right up at the top in the tournament history, total strokes. So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, and more, and I'm sure most people are going to probably go to Badley, especially after what Badley did last week. So, if again, if you can get Danny Lee, and we're talking GPPs down here, I'm not going to put these guys in cash. So if I can get Danny Lee at a half or a third of what Aaron Badley's going to come in at, I'll do it, especially in GPPs. And a guy that I've been riding, and I even, whenever I have a chance, I'll always go into Rick's, live show, and I like 2 or 3 weeks in a row, I asked Rick about what his thoughts are on this guy, and he pulled up his stats, and he's like, I don't see it, but for me, I see it because he always was popping in certain key areas that I was looking at, and he's making cuts once again on the swing season. He missed at the Shriners, and I played him at the Shriners, but I've played him almost every week in the swing season. Nate Lashley at 6,400 seems a little too cheap to me. And then the last guy that I'll go to if I have to, especially if you want to do studs and duds, just based off of his track record here, but his recent form is not good. But again, there's certain guys when they come to certain tracks that just manage to find it and turn on the switch. And he's a past winner here. So if you go studs and duds at 6,300, I might go Patton Kazire.
Yeah, I actually looked at Patton Kazire, and I think there was somebody else way down here that I was looking at, but I don't think that I'm going to dig that low. But to tail off of you, with Jan Griffin, I just hope that maybe he didn't destroy his self confidence too badly with the because he had like a I don't know a quad, or he had a couple of real bad holes where he just pissed it away. And CT Pan, I'm with you on. Nick Taylor, I'm with you on. Troy Merritt was the one that I saw that I think this dude can hit irons. He's normally a midsummer guy for me, but he's just turned into a much better player over the last year or so. So I like him. And then Johnny Q. Johnny, let's see if I can do this. That's not too bad. It's not Pat Mayo, but it's not too bad. But Johnny Hunt is got back to back top 20s. He's made a couple of cuts. Well, those are Zozo, but there was somewhere, maybe I'm just making this up, but I thought he had some form somewhere, but maybe I'm just going off course history. And I might have just been looking there. But he just seems like that short knocker fairways, and he can get hot with the putter sometimes. So for David, that's going to do it for the show this week. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to sub to the channel. And until the next show, we will see you soon. Peace out.